Now the Lord had said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee. And I will make thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee. And in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. Now many today think that the people in the state of Israel are the only remainder of God's holy people. The Jews are the only people left of God's demonstration people. And if we as a nation do not bless and follow the Jews, then we are cursed. They base this on the verses I just read. Well, we will learn that this is not the case. The state of Israel was established in 1948, and we have been backing them ever since. Everything that goes through the United Nations against them gets vetoed. Everything we see happening in the Middle East is based on either oil or protecting the state of Israel. With the kindest of hearts and the best of intentions, I do not see a lot of blessings being poured out upon this land of ours. Rather, I see more evil coming in upon us. We have lost world influence and resources. Politicians buying into this deception has led us into a path of judgment and hatred from the world over. I will explain this further in a moment. All 12 male children of Jacob, all 12 tribes, have inheritance claims. Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask thy father, and he will show thee, thy elders, and they will tell thee. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. For the Lord's portion is his people, Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. How many times have we heard Abraham the Jew, Isaac the Jew, Moses the Jew, and how he led thousands of Jews out of Egyptian bondage? The fact is, none of these people were Jews, they were Hebrew. Abraham, a Hebrew, was the father of Isaac, a Hebrew, and Isaac was in turn father of Jacob, a Hebrew. After a vision from God and wrestling with the angel, Jacob's name was changed to Israel. Jacob Israel, therefore, was the very first Israelite. Jacob Israel had 12 sons: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, and Benjamin. These are all Israelites, for they are all from the seed of Jacob Israel. The Jews are descendants from the tribe of Judah, Jacob Israel's 4th son. Let me use this analogy to drive home the point. All salmon are fish, but not all fish are salmon. In the same way, all bloodline Jews are Israelites, but not all Israelites are Jews. With this in mind, consider this too. Even if all the people who call themselves Jews today could trace their bloodlines back to Abraham, and believe me, they cannot, they would only be entitled to 1/12 of the inheritance God set aside in the book of Genesis. The lineage of Judah, the Jews, are but one of 12 tribes. But all Jews are not from the tribe of Judah. Many became Jews by faith for fear of the Jews. These people became Jews by faith, practice, and even underwent ritualistic circumcision. For example, my neighbor can convert to the Jewish religion of Judaism and have his genitals cut. Does this make him a descendant of Judah? No, of course not. He becomes Jewish, or a Jew by religion only. He practices Judaism, the Jewish religion. In the apocryphal book of Maccabees, we learn how the Jews went out conquering, and they gave people a choice. Either become a Jew, or we'll lop off your head. So people like the Edomites, from the cursed lineage of Esau, became Jews. And within 80 years, an Edomite was on the throne, King Herod the Great. He was the man who ordered all the children in Bethlehem to be killed when Jesus was born. Around 800 A.D., there was a group of people living near the Crimea along the Caspian Sea. They were a pagan people called Khazars. Now Christians wanted them to become Christians. Muslims wanted them to become Muslim. They were getting pressed from both sides. And you know what they did? They said they would not become Christian because the Muslims would attack us. We don't want to become Muslim because the Christians would attack us. So they became Jews instead. They accepted Jewish rites and ceremonies. The first Jewish king, Bulan, went through ritualistic circumcision, and they all became Jews. A later king, Obadiah, strengthened Judaism by inviting rabbis into the kingdom and built many synagogues. A well-known Jewish author, Arthur Koestler, has published a book entitled The 13th Tribe, in which he proves that Eastern European Jews are neither Israelite or Semites, but are instead Khazars, Mongols, and Huns. This book, along with the Jewish Encyclopedia, clearly shows a Jewish Khazar kingdom existing there for hundreds of years, and the descendants of these people are known as Ashkenazi Jews today, and they make up at least 90% of the people who claim to be Jews in the Zionist state of Israel. The head Jewish rabbis acknowledge that the Jews, as we know them today, are only from the tribes of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, and they pray that someday in the future they will be reunited with their lost brethren. It is ironic that Christendom was the one that began to proclaim that the Jews were the only one left of God's covenant people Israel. They claim the Jews are the only part of Israel on earth we can find today, and if we want to be blessed, we must support them, we must back them. The first effect from this error in teachings is found in the late 1800s and from the first part of the 1900s, when there was a terrible upsurge in atheism and agnosticism. Charles Bradlaugh, in Great Britain, and another man named Robert G. Ingersoll, an American, had great atheist meetings, and they read directly from scriptures. They read how Israel was supposed to be a great nation, a commonwealth of nations, which was to hold the gates of their enemies and bless the earth worldwide. They read all these passages and then proclaimed, "Hey, none of this is true. The God of your Christian faith failed dismally. There is only this pathetic little group of a few million people calling themselves Jews. Your God broke his promise, or he couldn't keep the promise because he doesn't exist." As a result, the Bible was seriously undermined, and the churches were largely responsible for what happened because they failed to rightly identify Israel. This is a quick history lesson regarding the tribes of Israel. In 1004 BC, King David ruled over the United Kingdom, conquered Jerusalem, and enlarged the empire of Israel. Solomon, known for his wisdom, followed David and built the first temple in Jerusalem on the threshing floor where the two Muslim mosques sit today. After Solomon's death in 922 BC, the leaders of the northern tribes rejected Rehoboam's claim of sovereignty and appointed Jeroboam as their king. The empire is now divided into two separate kingdoms, Israel in the north and Judah in the south. God declared that Israel is his chosen or demonstration people, but it is the demonstration of his judgment that takes center stage at this point in history. The 12 tribes would not heed God's warning. First, in 745 BC, the Bible tells us that the Assyrians came into the land from the north to pronounce judgment. Through the following years, the Assyrians deported into captivity the northern 10 tribes of Israel. Now this is important. They never returned. For lo, I will command, and I will sift the house of Israel among all nations, like as corn is sifted in a sieve, yet shall not the least grain fall upon the earth. These people may have lost their identity as Israelites, but God Almighty remembered who they are. Yet shall not the least grain fall upon the earth. What's happening in the southern kingdom? Judgment is coming now upon the southern kingdom of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Why? Because they too fell into sin and the worship of idols and graven images. The Babylonians came under King Nebuchadnezzar, and Jerusalem fell in 586 BC. After many years, the Medo-Persian Empire defeated the Babylonians. Cyrus, the king of Persia, enacted a new policy which allowed exiles, including Judeans, to return to their homeland. God allowed the Jews to return to Jerusalem so the bloodline of Abraham could be continued for the coming of the Messiah, Yeshua, Jesus Christ. So as we move forward, when I speak of Israel, I am speaking of the tribes or nations of Israel. When I speak of the state of Israel, I am speaking of the parcel of land in Palestine established in 1948. They are as different as apples and oranges.